This mission trip was a little different than most of what I've done in the past. I typically come out of a mission trip and think, wow, I got so much more out of that than I think I put into it or gave out. And this one was more about the effort and giving and seeing the results of what we were doing firsthand.
We were there for part of the week, so we were there Sunday through Tuesday, Garrett and I, and it was my first mission trip, so I was excited about that.
Everyone was talkative, everyone was very nice, and I think that was the best thing I liked about this whole week, was because everyone was so nice to each other.
I went down on Tuesday night and got to do Vespers with Galen. He was leading, and so I got to do that with the group.
I always look forward to mission trips, and I've been doing mission trips for a long time, but this one was sort of unique because I only got the chance to be there from Sunday night until Tuesday night, but it was enough to give me a good experience there.
We did a lot of things, a lot of different experiences.
It was my first, Emily and mine's first time, so since it was so close, we took advantage of that. And I thought that was a good way to get our toes wet.
I love mission trips, and I think what I look at it as is like I'm on this pathway in life, and as you're walking and going through life in your path, you cross paths with someone sometimes, and sometimes you walk along with them. Sometimes the rest of your life you're walking with them.
On Sunday night, we got there and we wandered the city a little bit. We did a scavenger hunt, which was cool and fun. I enjoyed it because it had some historical aspects, and that's definitely part of a love that I have of looking at our nation's history. But walking around and encountering people on the streets, and even encountering different teams from our group as we crossed paths and decided that we were needing to look on each other's shoulders for the answers of the scavenger hunts. It was really fun. We came close to winning the thing, I might say. Not really, but
Old First Reformed Church in Philly, I actually knew from before because I used to sing there as a professional singer, and so it was nice to be able to go back. It's different than it was when I was there before, like 30 years ago. It was very comfortable for us. It was clean, it was cool, it was really quiet. I didn't expect it to be so quiet right there, downtown Philly.
Old First was really, I thought it was really cool. I mean, one, we were given the, I guess, kind of horror story that, bathrooms were in another building and we were gonna have to trek out in the middle of the night or whatnot, and so getting there, finding an air-conditioned, really large space for us to spend time in, with all of the amenities we could possibly want, was a very welcome surprise.
We were in the big social hall, which thank goodness was air-conditioned, and that's where we all slept, and it was near the kitchen, and then the temporary offices were there, which was nice to have the staff close by. But the temporary offices were there because they're going to be tearing down one of their buildings, and then I believe the construction starts in April. They are going to be building a building that will have 32 efficiencies for homeless men. So excited to go back and see that when it's finished.
what a neat historic church. They just came through and are still working on it, a renovation of the whole church. And so we saw it as they finished their floors, beautiful floors. They removed all the pews that were from the old days and put in these chairs that can link together to make it like a row of seats. But the upper balcony still had the original pews, or at least some of the older pews. Here's this wonderful, almost 300-year-old church that is still ministering and serving the community and helping homeless people and always aware of social justice concerns. It's a great church, the first one in Philadelphia, and hence Old First, right? And it's pre-revolutionary days. pre-Revolutionary War days that it got started.
So day one, we started doing the clothing shed.
We also helped to sort the clothes in the clothing bank at the church. They have a large shed that has all these clothes in it, so we were organizing clothing for them.
The social room that we stayed in had an outside door on the back side by the kitchen. And we just walked through that door, and attached to the building was an add-on facility that was built for the clothing barn purposes. And so that's where the clothing's all stacked up and organized. We started the immense project of organizing that for winter clothing, for summer clothing, organizing by sizes and different shapes, and throwing out stuff that was just too bad, and finding stuff that was just brand new that had never been worn. Even one was still in the package. And we had about 8 people in there sorting through clothing and putting it all in, refolding it and putting it in stacks and making it usable for the Saturdays when people come, homeless people come, and they can get their breakfast and they can get clothing too. Right after that, we loaded up bags for help to go out in the city.
So the first morning there, we packed bags that had water, granola, some other snacks, and then some toiletry bags. Lucas was our camp assistant there, and he took us to a street, and we divided into 2 groups, walked down the street, and as we saw people who appeared to be homeless, we would just approach them and say, would you like a drink of water? Typically they would say yes, and we would hand them the bag and give them toiletries. Didn't stay and talk too long, usually a quick exchange, but you could see the appreciation and just the surprise of being approached of, do you want this? Do you need this?
We didn't know what our activity was going to be the night before, and we were talking actually, ironically, during worship time in the evening about how sometimes it just made me feel awkward, and it made some other people were mentioning that too, how we walked by homeless people and I didn't know what to do. Like, do you say something to them? Do you give them something? What, I felt like compelled to do something. So then the next day, actually we found out what our mission was going to be for that day, and it was to hand out water and snacks to people. So that was kind of answering our prayer, I guess, in the next day. So we were wondering what we were doing, and that's what we did.
When they first told us about it, we were all a little hesitant because we had to, go to homeless people to say, hey, would you like a water? Would you like this bag of food or whatever we had? And it was everyone was a little hesitant, but when we got out there, it was also a big eye-opener to see how many people were, out there homeless.
The people we handed the stuff to, just the look of thanks, the appreciation they showed, the love that they gave back. In one case, we had given a bag of stuff to one gentleman, and he was basically opening his up and starting to drink his water or whatnot, and we went to give a bag to another person that turned out didn't want it, and he just threw it on the ground. And this other guy that had already had a bag came over and told us not to worry about picking it up. He would put it back together and he would give it to someone else in need. So even moving it forward in their own community that way, it's not he wasn't hoarding it or whatever, just the love that he showed towards his other people in his situation. It really changed my view on Philadelphia in general. Still not so much about them Eagles fans, but yeah, take a trip to Philadelphia, take some extra bottles of water with you, and just hand them out.
So at New Jerusalem, that is operated by a Catholic nun, Sister Margaret, and Sister Sylvia. And they've been doing it for many years, and they basically took an abandoned building, renovated it, and started a program for those who are addicted to drugs. It's in one of the poorest communities in Philadelphia, and now they have several sites. And at one house that we were at where they have their offices, they also have a garden. So we really helped with just weeding, planting, picking the produce. The residents eat the produce, and they also share it with those in the community. and we just cleaned up the outside a little bit, and it was just really nice to see that garden in Philadelphia.
What's interesting about that is that the garden, the concept of the garden is that people in addiction recovery programs come in and do community service there. That's part of their program that they do.
We picked apples and planted, me and Galen planted tomatoes.
I helped water everything, all the plants and stuff. I helped make sure they were all hydrated and make sure everything was really nice.
The kids, I just was so impressed by our youth and how they stepped forward and really, got involved and, took on tasks without any question or whatever, and just really, did a great job.
Just getting out into the garden, getting ourselves a little dirty and helping out and doing that.
We weeded out some of the weeds that were overgrown in the flower beds, and we spent a good couple hours out there. Then we sat down and talked with the sisters, and we learned about their program. It was operated with a program called SHARE, and that was actually the main thing that we did on Tuesday was a SHARE group, which is a food organization in Philadelphia that helps put food on the tables for food pantries, but also they box up food for different organizations throughout Philadelphia. The time that we were, and this is on Tuesday now that we did this, it was in a warehouse. It was hot, 85 plus degrees. I was not worried, but I was thinking about how am I going to get my regular exercise in on this mission trip? Well, say no more about worrying about that, because I worked my tail off in that warehouse for those 3 hours that they did, and I boxed, along with Kevin Jacoby, 769 boxes of food.
And there was a sign there telling you what to put in the box, and it came to you, you put your stuff in, and then push the box down the line.
One of the cooler things about that was when you're at the end of the line or at the beginning of the line, and you're turning and you're putting stuff on, you're constantly moving back and forth. But at some point you start to turn a little further to get a little more motion, and you look all the way down the line and you can see all of your people down there doing the same things and seeing how far the work is going.
The warehouse, I was packing, I'm pretty sure it was corn or potatoes. I don't exactly remember.
Each box was 32 pounds of food, and when you think about everything that goes into that box and having to have a specific place, and it kind of makes you think about the people that are getting that, and having discussions while we're packing the boxes. How long do you think this food will last? Where is it going? What these people are going through that have to get the food.
Oh, it was hot. Big fans, though. They had really big fans. I was on the end where the big fan was. I'm not sure how it was down where Galen and Kevin were packing the boxes onto the skids. They had the harder job down there for sure, moving the boxes.
I was never so drenched in sweat in all my life.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite pictures of all of them. And our slide is the one of Galen pointing at the final results on the board, because his entire shirt is a different color. And that really, it really portrays, what that was.
It was really cool because everyone was working fast, everyone was getting it done.
Standing in front of the fan, jamming to the music, packing boxes, laughing with each other.
That's what was Tuesday morning for us, and that was really invigorating work. Tuesday afternoon, we got a chance to go through Independence Hall and see the grounds and hear the story and listen to the presentation that was offered by the United States Park Service, National Park Service. So for me, all of that was great stuff. I enjoyed very much doing it.
Wednesday we went to Cradles to Crayons, And we sorted clothes for summer and mostly for summer for the kids by size. And that was nice to be there for a whole team, and we went through a lot of clothes.
That was probably the most difficult one, sorting all the clothing out, because some of the clothing didn't have any tags.
We sorted through clothing, the second quality check. The clothes go through 3 quality checks, so we were on the second quality check, and then sizing them and then placing them in the boxes.
I really enjoyed Cradles to Crayons because of how efficient. It was a huge, huge warehouse. Donations everywhere, and I believe it's about a week and a half, 2-week turnaround when they get the donation, that it is checked over by several people for quality, and then the turnaround, giving it out to people in need. They service babies through, I think it's 12 years of age.
The whole warehouse has to do with packing clothes for kids, books, school supplies, toiletries, just anything to make a kid feel good about themselves.
Donations aren't just sitting there, and also that they really focused on quality. So they want these kids to have dignity, they want them to feel proud of themselves, so everything they're giving, the clothes, the books, the shoes are in good quality. If they're not good quality, they're put aside, not thrown away. Another organization will take them and use them.
And then they actually gave us a little tour so that we got to see the rest of the space of where they hold some of the other items that they gather. And there was another group that was cleaning shoes and another group that was cleaning books that they give to the kids. And so that was really neat to be part of that. It was a big project. It was good to be part of that. Wednesday night we also went to serve food to the Chosen 300.
Serving a meal at Chosen 300 was wonderful, just the energy that was there.
I think all of us had our eyes opened by the pastor who spoke there, and it was very rousing and a lot of fun.
Chosen 300 was really awesome. It was, we served a meal to the community there in need after an impromptu sermon, which was what kind of caught me off guard, because I was expecting the pastor that runs it to step up there, maybe offer a prayer, say a couple words about this or that, and get started. And 15 minutes later, we're still standing there waiting on the prayer because he has launched into a sermon.
But you don't go through this yourself. You don't turn your back on me. You don't walk away from me. But I'm going to prepare something for you in spite of, I'm talking about a father's love. Amen?
And then to find out that he wasn't even supposed to give a sermon. It was another person that was in the kitchen working that they got started early, so he couldn't come out and give the sermon. And this guy just off the cuff, just 15 minutes on John 3:16. And I was just like, wow, no script, no sermon written out, just straight off of his head, full of energy. And that really, just getting that beforehand, you'd think if you're just expecting to go in and wham, bam, get through it and, whatnot, and then this guy steps up and does like 15 minutes. And, a lot of people would be like, come on, man, we're ready to eat. Let's get this on. By the time he was done, I had 3 times the amount of energy I started with. So it was like just the biggest pump up before actually going to work that I think I've ever experienced.
It was deeply meaningful for people to be able to see how giving someone a choice of what drink they wanted really lighted up their day. I think that kind of humility was good to experience.
It felt great to be helping people there.
And just watching the way I made a comment at the end of it that it was the greatest single effort of organized chaos I've ever been a part of, because the way that they lay it out in there.
Kids are going to go down to this end
job tonight is, as the plates come out of the end, you're going to grab 2 plates and you're going to serve at this table.
And he's telling us beforehand what our duties will be and how we go about serving it. And I'm standing there listening and thinking, there's no way we're not going to bump into each other. We're going to spill plates left and right. We're going to drop this. And it really just, I mean, it came together. It went off without a hitch. It clearly showed that he knows what he's talking about. They know what they're doing, which they should. They're serving, 5-6 meals a week. So they've got it down pat, but it's more than just giving back to the community, and you can feel it when you go in there. It was an awesome process to go through, but it was a more awesome experience.
Then on Thursday, we went, this is probably my funnest, was to go to the Wissahickon Park and clear out a big swatch of an invasive species that they don't want. So we cleared it out, we pulled brambles off of limbs of trees, and then we're able to plant another tree. The idea that this other tree that we planted will grow, it will create shade, which will eventually snuff out that invasive plant. And then with the hopes that other more indigenous plants will begin to take over. So it was hot as all get out. But that really felt good, because I like doing those big picture things where we could clear out all of that mess and see the opening for something new. So that was really neat.
We helped clean up a park in Wissahickon Park.
Well, Christ Church, the history and the legacy that we have as a congregation is just amplified beautifully in our mission trip that we went to at Philadelphia, because we realize that mission is so much of what we do. It filters into everything of our program life, our ministry life.
Mission trips give us an opportunity to be with the other people. It is about doing and helping, but it's really about witnessing their life and being present with them.
It's just a great opportunity all around for everyone to grow.
God wants us to help people in need, like He helps us.
I think that we have a great congregation that supports the mission trips, and that's the biggest part, is just being able to show where their contributions and where their funds have helped out and how it puts these mission trips together.
I think this whole mission trip was a huge eye-opener to see everything that happened and everyone that's struggling, or what other people's lives are, and like how here we're like, oh, like we don't have to really worry about food, and we don't have to worry about if it's gonna be cold or not, but them, like the homeless people in Philly, it's always like they gotta worry about that. They gotta make sure they have food to survive, or make sure they have a shelter so they won't freeze. I think it was a huge, like big, like, wow, this is our life here isn't really everywhere. It's so much different everywhere in the world.